Y'all, I'm so fucking happy that my recording showed that it wasn't recording before I even got the chance to actually play the episode. Because if I would have already played it, then I would have been so upset. But let's just go with this one. I heard so many good things about the story, and let's be real, there's a dragon here. And I always was a fan of taming the dragons, even if it was just a metaphor for taming my man. But you all know, get the drill. This story looks amazing, and I want to see what my friend was talking about in the comment section. So let's see, Season 1, Episode 1. When an elven sorceress can't tell her friends apart from her enemies, she can only rely on magic. Let's burn them all at the stake. The events and behaviors of the characters do not reflect the opinions of the developers. The setting is intended to convey the spirit of a period close to the Middle Ages. You may keep the original elven name of the main character or choose a new one. Tis nope. For me, it will always be this, because that's my name. The Thunderstorm Saga, Episode 1, The Meeting. From skies above a dragon soared into the woods where shadows roared. With growls and hisses curl and raw, one vanished in the dragon's maw. What? What? Are we a dragon? I'm sorry, I just love dragons with a burning passion. I love the fucking animation. I could drown. Look at this beauty! Oh my god. Like, what is with those authors actually taking so much time in actually adding so much beautiful and actually live action animation to this? I think it started in Season 1, the finale of Heaven's Secret 2. That's when all of a sudden every single story started to have those insane lifelike animations. Look at this. This actually gives off Avatar and The Lion King vibes. Whew. I'm dying. Oh my god. And I'm scared to actually tap on the screen, because what if it suddenly removes the animation? I don't want to miss any second of this. My god. Fuck me. The flags whipped in the angry mountain wind. A cry was heard, and so the morning began on a note of anxiety and hatred. Me every morning. More warriors quickly appeared on the cliff. Furious threats and accusations of betrayal were hurled from all sides. Treasury. Where is the prince? Blades were drawn from their shreds. Okay. You will pay for this with your life. I can't, this just looks so hilarious. Simona didn't see who struck the first blow. The sound of steel reverberated off the rocks and echoed across the camp. Death roared all around, weaving pain into anger. Protect the ambassador. A chilling scream pierced Simona's ears. Someone's hand had been cut off. Oof! A blow sent someone tumbling into the abyss. Simona rushed to Tennerly, who was numb with horror. She had tried to drag Tennerly away so she wouldn't be hit by a sword. Hot, thick blood splashed onto her face. What do we look like? A few weeks earlier. Simona liked being in the library. The elf had been reading about magic since dawn. She was surrounded by dusty grimoires with fragile yellow pages. Are we a sorceress? Or do we just love to delve into the life of fantasy? Magic. Ever since Simona had shown a talent for the art, she had immersed herself in learning about it. Okay, so we're a sorceress. To one day be able to create fire and manipulate pure elements with the help of natural magic. This sounds to me like Avatar stuff. Actually being capable to manipulate all 4 elements. or to cast a spell and conjure an illusory image of the book in front of her. Wouldn't that be a miracle? Not if one mastered the school of transmutation. What about summoning a creature from another world? Interesting, exciting, magical. For now, it was just a dream. Simona had already mastered the basics necessary to gain permission to finally leave the place and travel to the border. The main character has access to all schools of magic. However, each of 3 elven nations give a small bonus to one of the schools. Okay. Oh my god. Oh, this looks so interesting. Oh my god. Alright. Either her or her. God, I hate it. You know what? I'm gonna go with her. No, this one. Let us be Rapunzel. Sorry. Simona put the book on the edge of the table and pulled another one toward her. It was one of the first printed publications dedicated to this life of the great transmutation sorcerer. The binding of the folio didn't have a copper clasp. It was simpler, but the pages weren't as thick. They were made of thinner and more expensive paper. There wasn't much practical use for the book, but Simona had started reading it out of curiosity and didn't like to stop halfway through anything. Simona's notes were written in the margins, next to the printed lines, comments, and magical symbols. They helped her to better understand the meaning of the main text. Simona ran her finger thoughtfully over the faded ink. They make it easier, they ruin everything. The symbols are useful, but the notes are useless. You know what? The symbols are useful. As the sun crawled to its zenith outside the window, Simona read the conclusion of closed the tome with relief. To put it diplomatically, this is a very controversial work. In the words of Master Firasna, they are the ravings of a drunken dwarf. Her audience with the king was approaching. Simona didn't know why he had sent for her, but she really hoped it was about her request. There was plenty of time left, but she knew it would be a good idea to collect her thoughts and prepare arguments that were convincing and not too bold. The latter was often easier than the former. I hate that you need to lick someone's ass. I'm sorry, I had to realize this a few days ago. I had this huge ass fight with my sister about that, where it said that no matter how hard women try, we will never be capable to be of length on the same scale with men. At least in Germany, women gain 18% less money than men. Explain to me how that's fair. 18% having the same degree, the same experience, and being capable to do your job just as good. The man gains 18% more money than you, just because he's a man. Someone explain to me how that's fair. And then I had this huge ass fight. I need to put this in here, then tell me in the comments. I'm so excited for the commentary about that topic. What do men have? I get the appeal. You all know me simping, I know the appeal. But if we talk about biologically, what do men have? Besides the fact that with 5 seconds of input, a woman is completely paralyzed for 9 months. Meanwhile, while a woman is pregnant, she needs to be careful what she eats, when she eats, how long she stays up. what she eats, if she smokes. She can't take medicine. If she's in pain, she needs to endure it, and then she needs to suffer horrifically when she gives birth. And if she doesn't actually give a natural birth, she will have a huge ass scar on her lower belly. Because the child needs to be taken out. Now, meanwhile, the man can live his best life. He can stay up late. He can eat what he wants. He can drink what he wants. Like, whatever it is that he wants to do, he can do it. What the fuck? Why is it that the woman is always the one suffering the most? What the hell? And I need to change my dress. Right, we need to dress up properly for his sorry ass. Y'all, I'm so upset. Don't mind me, it's late. The outside of her sleeve was covered in dust. It had probably gotten dirty while she was rearranging the books. Maybe I can just brush it off? She waved her arm, trying to knock the dust off the fabric. Simona's elbow bumped into a pot of writing quills, perched on the corner of the table. She leaned forward sharply in an effort to catch it, and her thigh collided painfully with the chair's armrest. One more move, and we fell. Oops. The chair fell on its side with a crash, feathers scattered across the floor. Wonderful. She grumbled under her breath as she put the quill back in their place. Then she rubbed her bruised thigh and headed for the doors. Well. As she walked, Simona glanced at the bas-reliefs decorating the walls. During the few days she spent in the library, she never ceased to admire the work of the ancient master. It seemed as if the elven figures were about to come to life and leave the art they had occupied for more than 1,000 years. Simona especially liked one particularly bas-relief. Men only, women only. I just love to see this so much, y'all. Honestly, at this point, I've always chosen men and women. Now I'm gonna go with just men. Like, I don't know. Like, you can tell me in the comment section if you want me to change. But I did decide for men and women in 2 stories, and it didn't really seem to make that much of a difference, apparently, so I'm gonna go with men. Yes, a wonderful sculptor. She grinned at her playful thought. Interesting. Did he work with a life model? The royal palace had been rebuilt several times, and the garden was no exception. Here one could observe the primordial traditions of the moon elves, light stone, and the compulsory presence of water. One could also see motifs of the forest elves' culture, which they brought with them many centuries ago, a slight carelessness in design of the flower beds as a tribute to wild nature. It was as if the plants had been here first, and the statues and arbors had been placed wherever there was space. The influence of the elves who lived mostly in the dark mountains was barely felt, but it was hardly surprising. It was difficult to create anything resembling a grotto in the open air. Simona, who had spent much time here as a child, looked around. It's time to go to the chambers and change my clothes. Already? Ooh. I think I found what I want. Nope. Besides, green is good for my eyes. Simona had to choose powerful words to convince the king if he refused again. When she tried to leave 2 years ago, the king forbade her and ordered her to finish her studies first. She fulfilled the will of the ruler as always. It would never have occurred to her to do otherwise. Still, her determination had only grown stronger since then. Her place was there, on the border of the hated Rhodo Empire, at war. Oh, she wants to actually be at the battlefield and use her magic in order to win the war. Oh, she's one of those. What a queen. Where her parents, whom she didn't remember, remained forever. Where her home lay in ruins, Simona didn't allow herself to be sad. She was no longer a little orphan aristocrat warmed by the great mercy of the ruler in his palace. She was a sorceress, an adult. Well, not quite an adult, not at all, one might say. Why, how old are we? But most importantly, she was ready to fight and die for her country. What a queen! What would the king say today? Would he let her go? Or would he offer her honorable service as a court sorceress? Like Merlin, I say. As the time for her audience approached, Simona grew more and more anxious. She kept touching her hair and adjusting her clothes. Me. She shouldn't be doing that. A sorceress must have self-control. I'm sorry, I don't have that. Like, I would feel even more embarrassed the more the time comes for me to actually get confronted with what I'm so scared of. If I can't pull myself together at home, how can I cope in battle? Babe, life is a learning process. You need to adjust. If you can, fake it till you make it. She stopped in front of the stage and folded her fingers into a sequential combination of complex symbols. Okay, practice develops magical skills. Simona has access to nature, summoning, and transmutation. Try all three schools. Create a stone ring. Call in a thorough assistant. Use magic arrows. Ooh. Create a stone ring. I'm not sure what a stone ring will do, but you know what? Use magic arrows. I think that's interesting. Ooh, transmutation, okay. Short streaks of light emerged from her palms. Ooh, they were like thin rays of sunlight cut to the length of hunting arrows. An experienced eye might even be able to discern the vague outlines of points and feathers. Ooh, I feel like I'm gonna like transmutation. The arrows pierced the belly of the sculpture, scattering golden sparks with an angry hiss. The spell was incapable of damaging stone, but a real enemy would have been injured if he couldn't dodge it. Alright, create a stone ring. A cloud of dust rose from the ground. It thickened in an instant and turned into a kind of ring, roughly carved out of the purple stone. A magical belt wrapped around the sculpture's waist. Magic of this kind did no harm. Its purpose was purely to immobilize an enemy. Simona held the shackle for several moments, then lowered her hands as if under an unbearable weight. The ring immediately fell apart, crumbling into small pieces. It hit the pedestal and turned to dust again. Simona winced. Her ring was still weak, but sometimes she was able to hold it for a little longer. Her teachers had drilled the ability to focus on magic into her. As expected, it pushed everything aside, and the excitement subsided. The sorceress folded her fingers into a new sign. Call in a thorough assistant. Summoning. Something sparkled with pale light. As if woven from strands of fog, a snake glided across the grass. It immediately rushed at the sculpture. Ooh. The snake wrapped itself around the stone, then bent down and tried to sink its teeth into the sculpture's leg. The disembodied ghost of a dead viper couldn't harm a stone statue. But if its target were alive, the spell would cause a painful shock or spasm, an echo of the venomous bite that the snake possessed in life. Having fulfilled the will of the sorceress, the reptile disappeared. Simona frowned slightly. Her assistant wasn't too lively yet. There were almost no traces of magic left. The garden was unharmed and looked the same as before. Only the flowers entwined around the statue were slightly crumpled. And perhaps Simona's pride was a little damaged. Babe, practice makes perfect. Yes, I'm far from being an experienced battle mage, but why belittle oneself? Everyone has to start somewhere after all. Simona raised her chin proudly and moved along the path. After a dozen steps, she stumbled on a pebble that got caught under her heel. She began to look under her feet. I won't be sent into a real battle right away. There will be time to practice. Things have been calm at the border for several months now. Simona had no doubt that this was a temporary phenomenon. It's the calm before the storm. It doesn't only happen with the weather, it also happens with people. In 6 months or a year or even 5, there would be a new battle. Small skirmishes never stopped, and no one considered them serious battles anymore. The war had gone on for centuries. Simona watched as a pollen-covered bumblebee flew in a busy buzz to another flower. Exactly at the appointed hour, the ruler of a Sai kingdom appeared on the garden path. The graceful, majestic gait of the approaching elf spoke more of his royal status than any royal circlet or crown. Erdal Lono Eritral's name could be loosely translated from High Elvish as brave fire, child of the wise ancestors. He often preferred gazeboos and garden walks to palace walls. Official meetings were held in the audience hall, and the cabinet was for working with documents. More casual conversations took place in the garden. Or at the other end of the spectrum, it was where decisions affecting the fate of the country were made. Regardless, royal protocol was observed everywhere. When she saw the approaching king, Simona curtsied elegantly and bowed her head. "Your Majesty?" He responded with a light movement of his hand, inviting her to follow him. Simona was not surprised. The king was usually reserved and in no hurry to speak. Those who had lived more than 2 centuries were rarely in a hurry. "Ooh." Simona. Erdal walked under the roof of the gazebo and motioned for her to sit across from him. "Why do I have the feeling that he's a love interest?" "We haven't seen each other since your arrival. Are you well?" Simona sat down on the bench and folded her hands in her lap. "Yes. Few people could hide anything from the king. But I look forward to your decision about my future service, Your Majesty." "The war has not become safer in the 2 years since we last spoke of it." Ooh, some choices changed Simona's character. Some increased the Raven stat, making the heroine more cautious and careful in her judgments. Others increased the Falcon stat, making the heroine stubborn and at times uncompromising. Ooh, I don't know. But I've learned a lot. 2 years and 3 months, damn. I mean, I understand we're pissed because this is not the first time that we spoke of this. But technically, this man can't say shit to us no more because in my eyes, if you want me to behave well and to actually do a good job with my studies, then that means that you actually need to propose something good in return. Back in the day when we asked him the first time, he said no, he wants us to finish our studies. Now we finished our studies. So this time, he has to say, yes, so, but I've learned a lot in that time. Including patience. I won't lose my head. I understand where I'm asking to be sent. I humbly ask your Majesty's permission. My magic is strong, and it will develop. That's all the teachers say. Ariel nodded briefly. I know, they've reported us so much to me. As a rather long pause, he said, we have a truce. Simona couldn't believe her ears. She studied for 2 years and 3 months because she wanted to go there to war, and now it's over. Every resident of SI dreamed that the empire would fall, and everyone knew that it was impossible. The enemy was too strong. All they could do was hold their borders, for they remained the last nation that had not sworn allegiance to the emperor. But a truce? Simona couldn't remember the last time one had been called. Has this ever happened before? Even members of the royal family were not supposed to ask the ruler questions until he allowed it. Simona wasn't a relative, so she waited all the more quietly. There are few and few of us. If our children do not lose the war, our grandchildren will. The day when there are too few of us must not come. Simona pressed her lips tightly together. Asai was founded by the ancestor of King Aridal on the ancestral lands of the Moon Elves. Thousands of years later, both forest elves and mountain elves lived there, as well as children of mixed marriages. But there were only elves separated from their enemy by a mountain range. The empire had more of everything, including land and peoples. It had humans and dwarves in addition to elves. Together, its peoples achieved great success in magic and metalworking. As such, it was incomparably richer. The empire also had dragons. Oof. They were huge and formidable creatures, invisible weapons that demanded submission. I'm sorry. I want us to actually sneak out of this hellhole that we call home and go there to the mountains to find those dragons. I want to ride a dragon so badly. Asai held the mountain passes for several centuries of war, but slowly they had begun to yield. The Emperor's Anoyas arrived on the new moon and brought me this proposal. A truce and peace. The end of the war. I accepted the offer. Behind the ruler's confident words lay the way of such a faithful decision. The negotiations remained secret, but tomorrow the truce will be announced in the capital, then in all corners of Asai. Simona was racked with confusion. She spoke carefully. This is a great joy for everyone. I know why you studied so hard. At the same time, I'm glad that you were too late for this war. Of course, this man wouldn't have sent us. Now he actually admitted it. I see you have something you want to ask me. I'm listening. Your Majesty, what are the conditions for peace? Why does the Empire suddenly want peace? Why is this news a secret? Honestly, at this point, why does the Empire suddenly want peace? I haven't decided which path I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take this first episode in order to see. Why would they stop if we're losing? For us, war is a matter of freedom. For them, it's about profit. Perhaps the total cost of the war has become too high for the Empire over the years. The price of victory pushed the Emperor to negotiate. However, he will not give up so easily. He knows that we're awakening. The solution he proposes my daughter. Huh? Daniel will marry the Emperor's prince. Son, Prince Tai. As a dowry, the Empire asks only for the silver mines of the Green Mountains and 50 of my personal ships. The peace treaty will be signed immediately after the wedding. In time, I will pass the crown not to my youngest son, but to my grandson. This has happened before, and it will happen this time again. My daughter will give birth to him, and she will sit at the right hand of the next emperor. And both thrones will be united by one hair, one blood. Timana spoke carefully. This is a very difficult proposal. The king did not answer. It seemed that only the two rulers knew the whole truth. Simone understood that the frankness Eridol had shown in their conversation was completely beyond her status. Y'all, I'm so sorry if I keep on messing up while reading, but those names are actually killing me. I keep on not being capable to understand how to pronounce them. I'm so sorry. And it was only a reminder of the fact that the king favored her exceptionally. Maybe he wanted her to do something. The king reached for a flower on the plant that entwined the gazebo. He tore off a dried petal. So what does it have to do with you? The ladies in waiting will go with Fanel to the Empire. The first is Lady Tennerly. The second was supposed to be a Lady Nestle, but she is very ill, and given the importance of this event, I have decided not to send her on the journey. You will take her place. Huh? Ignoring Simona's stunned expression, he continued. You're a noble birth, you are well educated, and most importantly, I do not doubt your loyalty, Simona. Your Majesty, the ruler spoke authoritatively, suppressing any desire in her to argue or request a change in his decision. I'm sorry, it's the fact that this man actually just decided that we're gonna take that woman's place without actually consulting us. He just said, you are going. Bitch, what if I don't wanna? What if I don't wanna? You can handle it. It wasn't her place to remind the king that the Imperials had killed her parents. Asai was full of those who had lost their sons, their husbands. Eridol himself had lost his older brother, and only those who did not know the king at all could believe that he had rejoiced at the path to the throne that opened up for him. He was a younger prince, but he had lost a close relative, and now Eridol, who had lost his brother in the war, had to give his daughter to the enemy. This is the price of peace. She bowed. Yes, Your Majesty. This palace will always be your home. If you wish, you may return here. But first you will help Vanolf settle into the Empire and become one of their own. Great, so I'm a spy. Aristocratic houses own everything, but an aristocrat does not belong to their own self. Sooner or later they must pay for the rich clothes, the honors, the expensive meals, to their house, their country, their king. They must also pay for the mercy of the ruler. Simona had every reason to be happy. That was a long-awaited peace. She had received a very important assignment from the king. This was exceptionally good news, but she didn't feel happy. I mean, technically, we have been training for this moment. We wanted to go to war. We wanted to show off our skills. We wanted to prove ourselves. We wanted to finally shut down the voices that doubted us in the first place. For example, the person in front of us, and now he's saying the peace. That means I've been living in a delirium for 2.5 years. You know how painful that is? I'm just afraid of change. This is actually a great opportunity to serve as Sai. She smiled softly. It is a great honor, Your Majesty. I can't stand this. Literally every single time I have to say Your Majesty, I feel like I'm licking someone's ass. Metaphorically, of course. I hate it. If the next time there is Your Majesty again, I'm gonna make a barfing sound, you know it's real. So sorry. Indeed it was. Despite all the blood spilled over hundreds of years, dozens of aristocrats would have liked to be in Simona's place. Wonderful. I'm sending an embassy with you to the Empire. It will be led by Lord Anilord A. Quintrago. What did I say, y'all? I'm sorry. It's the names. Lady Verl A. Emilia has been appointed as his advisor. Several aides will also go with them. Anilord had served the king for half his life, sometimes acting as his direct representative. He was held in high esteem by all. Verl represented one of the most influential houses of Versailles. She was the queen's younger sister and the prince's aunt. She was an infrequent guest at the palace, spending most of her time in her native lands. She was also known to be an excellent archer. Simona knew both Lady Amelia and Lord Quintrago, only in passing. She knew Lady Tennerly a little better. They even played hide-and-seek together as children, so that means that she technically has her age. She'll make a wonderful lady-in-waiting. The king looked at Simona appraisingly. She did not shrink from his scrutiny. I like what you have become. Thank you. He's done so much for me. I won't let him down. I won't let Sai down. Simona, is there anything else you need to clarify? Please, there is no room for shyness. Should I only be a lady-in-waiting? Yes, Simona. A light but masculine and paternal smile flashed across the king's lips. The girl he knew was changing as she grew into a young woman. She was beginning to think differently and less like a child afraid of every shadow. Take care of my daughter. Help her get used to a foreign country and feel less homesick. You will not have any special duties. Oh, that means I don't have to charm anyone, okay. I hope I'm not gonna become a homewrecker. Because King Tai, it gives. We have enough spies in the Empire and vice versa. There's no need to lure anyone. Is there anything else I should know? Any details about the groom or the Empire? Simona, their etiquette, history, and main houses are known to you. If you want to know the latest news, speak to Fennel or her aunt. 2 ladies in waiting, is that enough? 2 from his side, the Emperor will provide the rest. When do we leave? At dawn. So soon? The servants will help you pack your things. Tell them everything that you want to take with you. This man is like a wrecking ball. Literally. He's like, alright, bitch, listen up. The person that was originally supposed to come with us, she's sick, you're taking her place. When are we leaving, sir? At dawn. As in a few hours. Pack your things, we're leaving. The heck? I would get whiplash with this man. Thank you, Your Majesty. Oh. At this point, I'm just gonna change Your Majesty up, y'all. And the people that truly know me, they will know what I'm gonna change it into. There's no need to thank me. I know this is not at all what you were preparing for, Simona. You think? But there are no other suitable candidates. The other girls are either too young or live too far away to make it in time. Oh, that has nothing to do with my capabilities, thank you. Or they're not smart enough. Alright, let's take it back. Eridol stood up and Simona immediately followed suit. Her audience was over. Well, can't have everything in life, bitch. She bowed. Daddy? The The king looked sadly at Simona. Never again, your majesty, bitch. Eridol's brother had died defending the guard castle and the pass on the border. At the same time, Simona's father had died fighting side by side with the prince. Her mother was also in the castle. Aristocratic women sometimes visited or accompanied their warrior husbands near the front. When the wounded soldiers were replaced by reinforcements, they returned to the capital. They brought Simona with them. She was only a few months old. The former king had a hard time coping with the death of the eldest son, and soon left this world. The eldest prince had no heirs, so Eridol took the throne, and he took the orphan from the border into his court. He personally supervised her upbringing and education. He did so to honor the memory of all who had fallen in that battle. Life went on. I will see you off in the morning. Eridol had given Simona everything: wealth, wonderful teachers, a carefree childhood. In all her years here, she had never once felt like an unwanted guest. The palace had truly become her home. God's help me to be worthy of his trust. God, please tell me he's not gonna have us killed. Once alone in the gazebo, she collected her thoughts for some time. Peace. A peace treaty will be signed with the Empire. I will go there for a few years, maybe a few decades. I will smile, bow, show respect. But as I survived. My parents gave their lives for this. I can do this. I can handle this. I won't let him boss our princess around. Not as being the maid. Preparations for the journey had to be postponed. The servants told Simona that the princess wanted to see her in her royal chambers. Please tell me she's not a bitch. Please tell me she's not a bitch. Vanna was in the company of the other lady in waiting. The sorceress bowed. Your Highness, Lady Tennerly? Oh, wow, she is gorgeous. I love the white hair. I try to have like this look, I guess you can see. Lady Simona e Vetri. Oh my gosh, they're all so pretty. Hello. How did you take the news? She is so pretty. Like, I'm sorry. Can I play her? I'm envious of her looks. With sympathy for you. She said, bitch, I felt sorry for you. Damn. Like an order from the king. I was surprised by the king's decision. With sympathy for you. Oh my god, I can't. Look at the way the face dropped. Hopefully only with sympathy and nothing more. What I definitely don't need is pity. I wouldn't insult you with pity, Your Highness. Daniel turned to the window. Babe, what you want me to say? I'm sorry. The sympathy is mutual. When my father decided to send you with me, I thought of your parents. It would not be right for me to complain. I know the debt that falls on your shoulders, princess. I have asked my aunt to come. Let's wait. Tennerly asked immediately. Shall I order tea to be served? She's great at this. I need to get used to my responsibilities. Should I suggest some reading material to the princess? I know a very interesting work on the description and use of insects in the art of magic. I'm sorry. We were hired to help her. Set in there. Like, look out for her. We weren't hired to be her maid. Have them serve some wine. I hope Fennel isn't thinking of getting drunk out of grief. It's not like her, but in circumstances like this, who knows? No, she won't do that with her aunt around. Tennerly gave the order to the servants. As soon as the wine was brought in, Lady Verrill appeared. Hello, Fennel. Young ladies. The ladies in waiting greeted her in return. Valora moved in a slightly unusual manner. She was calculated and cautious but graceful. She exuded restraint and strictness. Is it the status of ambassador's advisor that compels you to behave this way, or is it just your personality? Young ladies, you're not much older than I am. Tennerly, Simona, this is my burden. Woo! If either of you have doubts that you can handle it, speak now. I'll ask my father to keep you at home. Will my aunt help me persuade him? She looked at Valora questioningly. Of course. I want you to be absolutely sure that you're ready to go to the Empire. You can count on me for everything, Your Highness. I will only repeat what I told the king. Your Highness. It is a great honor to be a lady in waiting. In that case, thank you in advance. She is cute. She's cute. She's cute and she has an attitude. I love that. I appreciate that. For the support I will undoubtedly feel from you until... What? Oh, okay. I get it. For the support I will undoubtedly feel from you until my wedding and beyond it. I suppose you must prepare for the journey. Don't forget warm clothes. You'll need them. The ladies in waiting bowed and walked to the door. Valora stayed with her niece. As they left the wing of the prince's chamber, tenderly smiled politely at Simona. It is so unexpected to you will be accompanying us. No one was more surprised than I am. We're going together. Yeah, we are. The sorceress didn't ignore the backhanded phrase, accompanying us. Don't try to isolate me and make me an outcast. Period. Like, this is actually what I thought. It's nice that you're coming with us. Am I a third wheel? No. I am a lady in waiting, just like you. What makes you think that you have more rights or anything? I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. She's a queen, she's cute. Sorry, babe. Trauma. Just a slip of the tongue. Oh, it would be nice if that didn't happen in the Empire. Tennerly's new smile was even more polite. Of course, we should stick together there. Somehow. See you in the morning. Simona looked at the sun as it touched the rooftops. It's time to get ready. A library was usually a quiet place, and in the evening the magical hall of the palace library was dead silent. As Simona expected, not even the caretaker was there. She had 2 things to do, and as long as witnesses didn't interfere with her first task, choosing a book, then her second task, replenishing magic, would benefit from the comfort of solitude. Let's start with the book. Can we actually choose it? Simona had no doubt that the king would allow her to take an entire chest full of tomes, but she decided against emptying the shelves before leaving. After all, the development empire should have its own library. It definitely take something valuable from there. For now, I'll take this and read it during the journey. From the shelf she pulled out the work of a famous wizard. It was written in High Elvish. Summoning basics, great transmusions, the essence of nature. Summoning... Nope. I love transmusions. Now for the most important thing. She looked closely at the floor. Casting spells wasn't just a matter of having an innate gift. Learning spells and forming signs correctly. Every practicing mage used their accumulated magical powers. As Master Farazina used to say, it was like running. Even if you were the most resilient runner and could run for a whole day, at some point you would have to stop to drink water. Simone approached a shelf in the dimness of her room. She took several bottles and a bag with the necessary ingredients. Among mages, these were commonly referred to as components. Ground light fish bones, fresh chicken blood. She opened the stopper and took a sniff. Not very fresh, but it'll do. She also needed dried hemlock and several other strange-looking substances. All of these things were sold in magic shops or obtained independently. Some cost less than a basket of apples and could be found in a typical kitchen. Others were only paid for in gold and precious stones. Samana shook her hands. Perfect lines were required. She drew 3 even outer circles on the floor with chalk. The inner circle was drawn with chicken blood. It contained a triangle and the symbols of the magical schools. There was no need to determine the cardinal directions. Someone had carefully marked the sunrise with a perfect precision on the far wall. Someone drew the final lines on the floor and meticulously examined the resulting pentacle. It's precise. She didn't want to waste the components. She tilted her head and peered closely at the symmetry. Everything is precise. She stepped inside. The fingers of her left hand formed the Weasel sign. For some reason, that particular sign always turned out worse when done with her right hand. The sorceress immediately felt a tingling sensation in her palm. She dropped to her knees. Ooh, look at this. The symbols lit up. It was barely noticeable at first, but after a minute they were so bright that the reflections began to play on her face. Magic began to flow into her body. Now it was important not to lose concentration. As usual, Simona had lost track of time. Experience had told her that the ritual would take about an hour. Look at this, Queen. She straightened her dress and stepped out of the faded rings. She winced as the circulation returned to her numb legs. Her head was slightly dizzy and her body was aroused with excitement. Magic is intimate. Magic is a powerful rush. It's intoxicating. Once you feel it, no matter how painful and difficult it may be later, you will never refuse it. Ah, so it's like being a ripper, I see. It was completely dark outside the window. Simona stretched, relaxed, and languished. The influx of magical energy always caused a surge of love and desire within her. She tossed her hair and grinned. No one knew her like this, only the magic and the pentacles. Simona slowly came to her senses and sobered up. Disturbing thoughts about the upcoming journey returned to her. In a few hours she would be sailing on a snow-white ship, then she would climb the mountains. And then I will cross the border and see the Imperials face to face. Simona wiped away the blood that had gotten into her eyes. It wasn't hers. An Imperial fell at her feet. The sorceress jumped over the body and grabbed the lady in waiting by the hand. She slipped and scrambled on the now red stones as she dragged her away from the battlefield. A new scream, a new death, the frantic flashing of weapons, and suddenly there was a loud commanding voice behind her. 1 day earlier. I was about to say, didn't we need to have the wedding first? Servants and warriors pitched tents, built fires, and busied themselves with back saddles. A grasshopper chirped in the fragrant mountain grass. The sun emanated a pleasant warmth. Simona had finished reading the book she had borrowed from the library a long time ago. She had nothing else to do, so she walked around the camp and looked at the scenery. There was no sign of the enemy. Former enemy. I have to get used to that. I believe nothing. This is the calm before the storm. Only the ruins of the castle reminded them of the war. Simona had studied history, but even she didn't know who the structure belonged to. The Empire of Versailles. It could also be that the castle had passed from hand to hand until it was so destroyed that there was no point in fighting for it. Formerly, this was the land of the Empire. In reality, it was no one's land. A barely perceptible breeze touched her cheeks, bringing with it the sweet scent of flowers. Is that lavender? She turned her head in all directions, searching for purple blooms. An angry voice came from off to the side. What? What did I do now? And for how long? Simona turned around at Finel's indignant voice. They're keeping me waiting. Me, the Princess of Versailles. How dare they? Okay. Girl, you need to take a chill pill. Second, you need to think a little less of yourself. I must meet us personally. Lord Annual was with her. He took Fanel by the elbow and spoke to her softly. He was clearly trying to calm the princess down. Like I said, take a fucking chill pill. The king's ambassador in close confines is a man of experience and wisdom. It will be useful to hear how such high-ranking persons are reassured. The ladies in waiting will have to do that more than once. Who would know how to manipulate those who rule if not diplomats? It's a useful skill. Simona moved closer. When your fiancé arrives, we will certainly bring this to his attention. But allow me to do that. I believe that an acquaintance that begins on a harsh note will not have the best effect on future communications. Who knows, perhaps the prince will try to make up for this oversight. You're right, Lord Anilo. I'm overly emotional. After a long journey, it is only natural, Your Highness. This is a very picturesque gorge. Would you like to take a look at it? Aniot led her through a dance to the far end of the camp. Simona was so absorbed in the conversation that she did not hear someone approaching her. What? The princess is agitated. Not surprising. Not at all. Valora began to make polite small talk. How are you? Much better. Are the Imperials really late? No, we arrived early. It is much more difficult for us to estimate travel time accurately, so we traveled with the time reserve. I believe they will fly in exactly at the appointed time. Simona repeated the phrase silently, with just her lips. They will fly. Something must have changed in her face. Valora asked, Are you afraid of them, lady? No. Simona looked into Valora's eyes and added, For as long as I can remember, I have dreamed of killing them. There was a pause, and then Lady Emilia laughed. The king made a wonderful choice in appointing you as a lady in waiting. They should appear before the sun touches their peak. Simona watched the retreating backs of Ambassador Anilot and Fennel. Lady Velia, may I be curious? Of course. What do you know about the prince? Tai A. Annie is a warrior. He commanded the suppression of the rebellion in the east of the empire. He fought against us too. He led their troops in the Grey Valley. We won the battle. Many do not think so. And you? Neither do I. It wasn't profitable for the Imperial to hold the valley. Tai's task was to give the rare detachments time to take everything of value and flood the copper mine. They achieved their goal. He didn't set out in the rear in the other battles. He's brave and a good strategist. What else? They say he's experienced in matters of love and generous in his attentions to women, but only the ladies of high birth. He shuns commoners. Damn, he's a bitch then. Because, again, even if I would be a princess, in my eyes, I did this example, like my friend looked at me shocked, but it is a fact. Honestly, y'all, if you're rich, if you're famous, whatever, will that status actually save you from a bullet hitting your head? Will it? No, it won't. Because what does automatically fame and high status include? Money. Money cannot save you. Fame cannot save you. It will not save you. So stop trying to pinpoint out that just because you have money or because you are rich, just because you have a name to yourself, that automatically means that you can treat people like shit. Because money will not save you in a serious situation. Okay? So he's a bitch. In my eyes, everyone deserves to be treated equally, and that means completely equally. Tell me about the Imperial House. They say it is cursed. Simona raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? The Emperor had 2 wives. The first bore him 3 sons. The younger one is Fennel's fiancé. During the 3rd birth, the Empress died. A few years later, the eldest of the children died, then the middle one. The Emperor married again. His 2nd wife gave birth to 2 daughters, then died 3 years ago. What were the cases of death? Various natural causes and accidents. For example, the eldest son drank too much wine in his inexperience. He was drunk and fell down the stairs. The stairs in their palace are probably no shorter than ours. He broke his neck. Damn. A tragic and stupid mistake by the servants. They simply failed to look after the Imperial son, but rumors of course spread among the courtiers. And even if the nobles and other residents of the palace try not to touch the subject, lest they incur the Emperor's wrath, it is impossible to keep all the citizens quiet. Superstitions, and ironically, they consider themselves more advanced. Any curse can be easily recognized, even by an inexperienced mage. That's the first step of That's the first step of first steps. And the members of the Imperial House were probably examined by the best sorcerers. You're right. If he had the slightest doubt, His Majesty Eredol would have agreed to marry his daughter to the Emperor's son. You should mention your opinion to Vanel from time to time. She's romantic and impressionable. These rumors bother her. Uh-huh. Valor changed the subject and said, Did you choose the outfit yourself? Yes. You have amazing taste. Thank you. Me. Thank you. Tenderly approached them. Am I interrupting? Of course not, Lady Tenderly. We were discussing how the lady-in-waiting could help my niece. Were we? That means that she doesn't trust her enough. Simona raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did behind the screen. We are ready to do whatever is needed to Her Highness, and in her stead if need to be. An arrogant smile suddenly appeared on Valera's face. Her tone was biting as she spoke. What are you implying? In Her Highness' stead, Vanel must carry a child for the enemy. Will you lie in his bed for her? Tenderly lowered her eyes, Simona clarified in the same tone. Would that help? The ambassador's advisor looked thoughtfully at the sky. Who knows? Who knows? Simona followed her gaze but noticed nothing. They are flying. Despite her determination, it felt frightening. Huge creatures that were born to bring death were getting closer and closer. Let me see those fucking dragons. Until now, Simona had only seen them in engravings and paintings, but no matter how skilled the artists were, they couldn't convey all the sensations, power, force, and a predatory, unmistakable majesty that defied all reason. First, Simona looked at their long, membranous wings. They caught the wind subjugating it to their will. Then the outlines of their heads appeared. Next were elongated saddles at the base of their necks. Each of the monsters carried several riders. They're not monsters. As they chose a place to land, the dragons circled the air above the camp. In the setting sun, their huge black shadow glided across the tents. The warriors froze in suspense. Simona's throat went dry. Oh my fucking god. Yes! Come to me. Oh my god, come to me. Come to me. They look like huge-ass falcons, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was amazing. Finally, the first dragon landed. The ground shook underfoot. Dust flew up and claws scraped the stones. The lizard-like body clung to the ground, its long neck arched with predatory grace. The dragon moved its snout and looked around at the Asai. Evening, how's it going, bitches? Look at this. Oh my god. Honestly, I would love to see a white one. Simona felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up as airy eyes stared straight at her. Fine as fuck. Fine as fuck. The sorceress tore her eyes from the dragon's face with difficulty. She looked at the flying rider. He jumped to the ground as easily and freely as if he had dismounted from an ordinary horse. And just as they patted the necks of horses, he patted the dragon and immediately introduced himself. Locharnas Sogenash. He bowed. Welcome to the Empire, venerable lords and ladies of Esai. The Esai used A, which literally meant descendant. The elves of the mountains preferred their native dialects equivalent. So, the rest were already descending onto the rocks a short distance away from the camp. Lord Anilot e Quintargo, ambassador of Esai. The mountain elves stepped aside and gave the dragon an order. Simona didn't catch it. In the back of the saddle sat another elf, a pure-blood forest elf with attentive, very deep eyes. The winged monster sank even lower, almost lying down. The elf stepped confidently onto the ground without holding on to it. His sign is the crown prince of the Root Empire. Dai e eni lona wet wine frikain. Interesting looking. Welcome. His gaze found the princess immediately. He did not offer a courtesy, only a slight inclination of his head. Your Highness,
Princess Essay, Fanel on Erlita. The warriors parted. I hope your journey was easy and unburdened.
Thank you. The journey to our native land has been without hardship.
I trust that your new home will not tire you either. Princess.
Of course, Prince. She's pissed as fuck, and me too, sis. More elves dressed in noble robes approached from the dragons that had landed further away. Only 2 of them were armed. Tai Ini was not afraid of an attack and deliberately demonstrated her confidence. The smile on his face looked sincere.
I'm immensely glad that the ruler of our lives and destinies were able to come to an agreement, and that they called for a truce. And your beauty surpasses all the stories about it.
Is my beauty important to you? The prince didn't let Fanel's light jab embarrass him. His dark eyes narrowed slightly, and he nodded in understanding.
A future peace is awaited by all citizens of our countries, but you're not indifferent to me personally.
The smile disappeared from his face.
According to traditions, we must hold a ceremony for your passage to Rot. Only then can I call you my bride, princess. It is the law. We won't put it off. We'll do everything today. The wedding will take place in the Emperor's palace as soon as we arrive in the capital.
There was the power of the heir to the throne in his voice.
Lord Anilod A. Quintargo, Lady Valora A. Amenelia.
They stepped closer.
As soon as the princess becomes my wife, we will sign the peace treaty. The seals are with us.
An imperial had somehow approached them so stealthily that they had not noticed him. He joined the conversation.
I'm Dalmi Aines, consul to His Imperial Majesty. I can help you with any question you may have. Please do not hesitate to ask me. The Empire will withdraw its troops from the border and cease all hostilities once the SA Embassy has verified the treaty. We will bring them provide a dragon to bring any of you to your king so he can sign it personally.
As she listened to her fiancé, Faniel glanced sideways at the dragon from time to time. The dragon looked back at the strangers like a well-fed cat looked at birds. The prey piqued his interest, but he was too lazy to grab it.
Lord Ganesh, your friend is frightening our guests. With your permission, we will move further away from the camp.
The prince smiled at Faniel again.
I hope you will accept a gift from me, a dress from the ceremony.
Simona and Tenderly had already helped the princess to dress. While the princess spoke to Valora, Simona was able to take some time to fix her hair. What's wrong with my hair? Oh my god. Now that I think about it. The Imperials were preparing for the princess' rite of passage from one country to another. The golden sun shone as the prince personally supervised the preparations. The dragon on which the prince had arrived sat behind the tent closer than the others. The rider rummaged through the bag strapped to its saddle. I heard that the matriarchy has been preserved in their mountain elves' houses. Tenderly seemed to be looking at the rider as well. We're closer to each other, so our cultures have blended. And in the Empire, it's every man for himself. Every woman for himself. I always think it's funny when people say every man for himself. That literally is a nice way to say that everyone is just selfish there. Okay, thank you. Like every man for himself, that means the second I will throw you overboard in order for me to survive. That's the meaning behind every man for himself. That's why the separate traditions of all the peoples there have been preserved. There are fewer things that unite them. How unusual. Simona remembered the name of the flying rider. Lord Sharnes, mountain elf men aren't always modest or unambitious. Sometimes they make good warriors and strong politicians. But for a mountain elf to become a dragon rider, this is the first time I've heard of such a thing. He said I'm making the cut this time. Like, there are a lot of people actually saying that they are meant for more, and they're like one of a billion people that just that side of the line because others are just scared of change, or they're just in general scared of the consequences that could follow with the change. So they decide to be lifeless puppets, and then there are others that have such a strong will that they are like, I'm willing to take the risk in order to make a change. And those are the people that will become dangerous in the eyes of politicians, or in general just in the light of fame.
Rats preserves different cultures, but the throne is still inherited through the male line.
Also, that means that the women aren't on power. Only because the emperor's house is a clan of forest elves. Why? Does that mean that there are only male people there? Do the men get the children too? Because if only males are there? Tenderly twirled a lock of hair around her finger.
A man from a matriarchy. This is interesting.
Oh, Lady Tenderly, there is never a boring moment with you. I don't know if she actually is meaning that or if she's actually, like, taunting her.
If it weren't for his dragon.
Yes, what a fearsome creature. But we are the ladies in waiting of the future empress. We'll have to get used to it. Approach, Harness. Tell him that we're no bitch. We're no afraid bitch. And the sooner we get used to them, the better. Are you with me?
What? Gods, do you want to go there to him?
Why? Did I stutter? Yes, it will be useful to get to know Lord Sharnes better. Surely there's a good reason that he was the one carrying the prince.
No, I won't approach that creature. I'll wait for you here.
Whatever you say, ma'am, Simona laughed. Creature? What an undiplomatic way to refer to Ganache.
I didn't...
Yes, you did. Without giving the lady-in-waiting a chance to explain herself, Simona walked to the edge of the camp. I always think it's hilarious when people are trying to remedy the mess that they created. Ma'am, you said it. It's over. I already know how you feel. She had to make an enormous effort to get closer to the dragon. Why, isn't he chained or something? At first he seemed to be asleep, but when she was only a few steps away, he opened his eyes. Look at this beautiful bitch. I can't. Can I take him? Can I ride him? No, the monster was not born to bring death. It was the embodiment of death. Damn. Simona froze. She forgot how to breathe. Hundreds of years of war, hundreds of thousands of death. Blood on huge fangs, crushed bodies under clawed feet. The rider stroked the huge snout without turning to face her. The dragon closed his eyes again. Simona blinked and the vision dissolved in the fog and the wind. Oh, can I help you? He fastened the buckle on his back and turned around.
Lady Simona, ei vedre.
Yes, Lord Sharnes, so Ganache. The elf looked at her without interest. He spoke coldly. Damn.
Are you going to come closer?
Simona forced herself to take a few more steps.
So how can I help you?
Lord Ganesh, I wanted to ask. What's his name?
If I say his name, I'll get his attention, and he'll notice you. It's better if he ignores you.
Why?
There's nothing here to feed him.
Do you find this joke amusing? Is this like from the old fantasies where dragons eat like virgins? I can't. Do you find this joke amusing?
You're delighting waiting of our prince's future bride. God forbid that anyone joke with you.
He's not very talkative. Happens. Sharnes pointed behind Simona.
Unless she's having a canapé, Lady Tenderly seems to be calling for you. I suppose that means everything is ready for the ceremony.
Discouraged by Sharnes' candor, Simona turned to see Tenderly waving her hand. Simona waved back. Lord Sharnes, will you not be attending?
Don't worry, I will not. Neither will the other dragon riders. I will stay here and make sure that none of your servants or warriors get too close to the dragon. Only then did the rider smile. We wouldn't want to spoil the joy of their highness meeting by getting someone's head bitten off, would we?
I'm gonna take this dragon one day, y'all. I regret nothing of what I'll do after that. Simona wasn't sure if that was sarcasm or sincere attempt to lighten the conversation with a joke. Actually, I wasn't worried. About heads being bitten off. Great approach. Simona realized that she had fallen into a similar verbal trap to the one Tenderly had recently gotten herself caught in. She decided to walk away silently, holding her head high. We're strong bitches. Before it gets worse. Or before we kick someone in the balls. Simona knew that some ceremonies of the imperial house were closely related to the rites of the forest elves. The race came from a time when the empire didn't exist, but she had never seen anything like this. 4 people helped tie Aini, 2 men and 2 women.
Vanellono Erlitas, daughter of Erdal, my forest accepts you.
The princess glanced excitedly at the elves from 2 different countries standing around her. She looked so gorgeous.
The wind of its branches will strengthen your spirit.
A man slowly walked around the princess with a smoking incense burner in his hands. He carefully handed the incense burner to Simona and retreated. Simona happened to be the closest of all the Assai at that moment. The fragrant smoke of smoldering herbs tickled her nostrils. Golden burner. Simona accepted it with a bow, sorry. Her hands trembled slightly under the weight of the gold. Okay. But the incense burner on the ground tried to hold the burner? Simona gripped the weasel tighter. She hoped that she would have enough strength to last until the end of the ceremony. Meanwhile, the prince continued.
You will not stumble on its ground.
One of the elves held a flat bowl with a pile of earth brought specifically from the imperial capital. The woman threw a handful at Fannel's feet, slightly staining the hem of her dress with dust. Then she handed the dish to Ambassador Anilo.
The fire will harm you.
An elf stood in front of the princess with a deep bowl in his hands. Flames danced above the bowl. Fannel held her palms over the fire. The flame licked her skin. The bowl was then given to the second lady-in-waiting. Tenderly held it. She pressed her lips together tightly, but didn't even think about letting it go.
Its water will wash you and give you strength.
Another elf stepped forward, not a forest elf, but a moon elf, of which there were quite a few in the empire. She held a silver bowl filled with water. Fannel took a long sip from it. Lady Variel then accepted the cup.
My forest will give you food.
The prince took a wooden bowl from his aides and stepped toward the princess. There were nuts in the bowl. A thought flashed through Simona's mind. An excellent opportunity to poison her, but no. If the prince had wanted to kill her, the dragons wouldn't even have to land. The princess ate a kernel of the most common hazelnut. Why only a common one, though? Maybe it's from a sacred grove.
Fanu Lono Elita, daughter of Eridal, my forest has accepted you.
And I accept the forest. The heir to the throne looked around at the elves of Frodo.
Welcome, my bride.
They fell to their knees at once. Ambassador Anilo followed suit, and then the rest of the Assai knelt with him. In the evening, the smell of cooked food wafted over the camp. Despite the ceremony, the Assai and the Imperials kept their distance. They looked around cautiously and did not try to get to know each other better. Damn, you're doing a crappy job in uniting all those 2 countries. Too many years of war, too much grief. But Simona followed the prince's order, went specifically to their former enemies. Tai Aeni stood by the fire with a melancholy air. He threw small twigs into the flames. Several people sat relaxed in the chair nearby. Among them were the consul and the woman who had served water at the ceremony. There were also 2 riders, including the mountain elf Sharnes. Your Highness?
Lady Vatre.
The princess asked me to convey a message to you. She's grateful for the offer, but asks for your forgiveness. She will not be able to join you for dinner.
Why?
It took us a long time to get here, and Her Highness is tired. Of course, Simona didn't repeat the princess' exact words. I'll have enough time to get sick and tired of eating in his presence. I love the princess. She's a queen. Doralyn. Oh.
Well, that's a shame. However, if that's the case, take her dinner to her tent. I'm sure she'll like the dish. It is specifically prepared for the princess.
Take it to her? I'm a lady in waiting, not a maid. Ooh. Is he a love interest? Is he? I don't know, but honestly, who am I to refuse? I'm here a lady in waiting. I don't care. I don't carry food. I order it to be served.
Not a very obedient lady in waiting.
I obey my princess. Tayeini was clearly not used to that. He raised an eyebrow. The writer that Simona did not know chuckled.
Are those ladies in waiting usually this insolent?
Ooh, I like him. He cute. The prince made a short gesture with his hand.
Drop it.
The writer immediately stopped short and bent over in a bow.
It's not insolence, it's devotion, which is commendable. As a servant of my house, I hope you would respond in a similar manner in a similar situation. Please forgive me, your highness.
There was approval in the prince's eye as he looked at Simona.
Not me. Ask her for forgiveness.
That's another way to say I'll whip you in shape. Damn. Honestly, I want to get to know that writer because he fine.
Please forgive me, lady. Stop wasting time. Find a servant and tell her to bring dinner to my bride. And get me some good wine. Yes, your highness. Lady Vetri, I wish the princess a pleasant stay and good dreams.
I'll be sure to tell her. The prince and his assistant lost interest in her. Only Lord Charnes looked at her wryly. Simona liked the Imperials less by the minute. Simona couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned until her sides ached. Eventually, she rose from her camp bed and left the tent quietly, trying not to wake tenderly. The sky was overcast, and the stars were almost completely hidden. The mountains surrounding the camp were drowned in darkness and completely covered the horizon. Everything looked different at night. It took Simona a minute to figure out where everything was. The edge of the plateau, the path, and most importantly, the dragons. She had not even the slightest desire to approach the scaly monsters. They are beautiful, what you mean? They're majestic. Earlier that afternoon, Simona had noticed a mountain cranberry bush at the edge of the camp, but it had been too awkward to pick and eat the berries in front of everyone. But now no one would interfere. Are you sure about that? I imagine bitches to be around everywhere. She walked around the supply tent and picked several ripe sweet and sour berries. She pulled another twig toward her, intending to pick another berry, and froze. There was someone behind the tent. I didn't imagine it. A dragon said hello. Fano. There may not be a second one. Simona listened. She recognized Fano's voice immediately and even understood part of what was being said. The person the princess was talking to spoke much more quietly. Only rustling or breathing indicated their presence. I'll think of something. If we do everything now, we can leave in the dark. We know these mountains better. No way, to lay under the enemy, to forget about the war. I mean, I understand what she's saying. She's like, bitch, my dad is demented. There's no way in hell I'm living with the enemy. Their house is cursed. But how would you know you weren't there? Are they talking about the Imperial house? Well, let's hope that I'm the only one that's listening in on your conversation, babe. Then the unknown person spoke for a long time. The princess seemed to reply with something, but Simona didn't hear exactly what it was. Then she heard. Exactly. My brother is gentle. I won't allow the country to be ruled by his future wife, who will play him as she pleases. We must continue the war. Simona shuddered. The princess was talking about going against the king's will. I'm actually surprised that she's actually willing to cause another war. Like, this apparently was a war that was going on for centuries and centuries. This marriage was supposed to stop it, and she actually says, I want the war to continue. So she's fine with actually risking so many lives just because she doesn't want to have peace with them after such a long time of war with them. I understand that we wouldn't want to be all cozy and lovey-dovey with them, but actually continue in the war, risking so many innocent lives. Like the lives of the military that are willing to fight for our needs and our desires, like for a country. This is treason. It is. From the inside, how do you envision this? No, better now, right away. I can't approach the prince. The Emperor isn't young, and he has no other sons. Is she crazy? She demented. She delusional. The twig Simona was holding slipped from her grasp, leaving only the torn leaves in her fingers. In the silence, the twig struck the other branches very loudly. At the same moment, the whispers behind the tent stopped. Simona didn't have to be a smart sorcerer to understand that she had heard too much. She knew nothing of political intrigue, but she was very confident that no one lived long after hearing even half of what she said. Besides, it didn't matter at all how it would end for the princess and her conversation partner. Simona hurried away, trying to move as quietly as possible. A thought flashed through her head. Where? What should I do? Sleep? As long as I don't wake up too early, I never left the tent. From behind came the voice of the princess. Who's there? Hello? Too late, bitch. I heard everything. Like, that's what happens when you actually plan to overthrow someone's throne, to overpower someone and to cause war. You shouldn't be in a tent full of people that could actually want to stop you. At dawn, a scream woke the camp. Alert! Elves leaped from their tents. They looked around feverishly, wondering what was going on. They kept their hands on their weapons. What happened? I don't know yet. The princess is missing. What? She's not in the tent, Lord. She ran away. This is an insult. You broke our agreement. Yes, I mean, that's also a way, like, to cause war again, you know. The tension grew relentlessly. The SI warriors and the Imperials tethered on the brink of battle, glaring at each other with undisguised suspicion. Prince Tai appeared, forcing his return to disperse. He quickly approached the ambassador now. Everyone calm down. When was the last time you saw her? Speak. Before midnight. Damn sureness. I'm here, Prince. 2 dragons in the sky. Yes, Your Highness. The rest of you search everywhere. Leave no stone unturned. Inspect every nook and cranny. His warriors rushed to carry out the order. The Asai also awaited Lord Anilo's command. He locked eyes with the prince and shouted, You heard him. Everyone search for the princess. Where is Her Highness' maid? Bring her to me. Huge wings flapped, raising clouds of dust. 2 swift shadows soared into the sky. Lanterns and torches were lit, dispersing the morning twilight. The warriors, ladies in waiting, and servants scattered in different directions. 3 horsemen galloped along the road back to the guard castle of Asai, and 3 rode into the depths of the empire. Do we need to look for all of them? At this point, go to the scree and the slope. Simona hurried to the right to the slope littered with large boulders. Once they had rolled down from the peaks and swept away everything in their path, they were a reminder of the formidable grandeur of the ancient mountains. An Imperial, the one who'd been sitting next to the prince by the fire the day before, appeared from somewhere off to the side. He saw that the princess lady-in-waiting was already searching here, so he went elsewhere. A minute later, a scream reached them. Here, this way. Babe, are you in on this? When Simona ran up to the cliff, several elves were already standing there and looking down. At the bottom of the gorge, Tenderly was as pale as a ghost. She pressed her hands to the mouth and mumbled incoherently. Carefully, so as not to fall, Simona stepped to the very edge. Gods. Damn, and even the broken hand and the broken neck, y'all, as if someone would have actually, broken her neck. Oh, wow. Okay. Someone actually killed her in the night. Maybe it was the person she was talking to. No warriors appeared at the cliff. Calls for death. The clash of steel. Blood on her face. Tenderly's hand. Slippery stones. and an authoritative voice from behind. A loud, harsh command from the prince. He didn't yell, but everyone still froze. Stop. Split into 2 groups. Behind him, a dragon sat on the stones. The guttural roar left no doubt that anyone who disobeyed Tai Any would die. Lord Charnes' gaze was no kinder than his monsters. Swords in the shits. The Imperials listened. The SI warriors ready to die only clenched their fingers tighter around the hilts. Lord Anilo, must I remind you whose land you are on? Lady Velora. The ambassador and his advisor exchanged glances. Put away your weapons. Several soldiers immediately rushed to bandage the wounded. Those who remained moved closer to their lords. We're on your land, and the princess was killed on your land. Prince. If you're right and the princess was killed, what are you implying that this was an accident? What are you insinuating? This is a provocation. Tai Any winced. Stop it if... What? How is that? The prince's voice rumbled. Lord Anilot. There was a firm warning in the tone of the Imperior's her. Never interrupt me. He says, bitch, you are here to listen. The lord remained silent. The princess was killed, and raising the issue of trust is nothing short of stupidity. Any direct statement would question the way of my word or yours. It is an insult and a source of conflict. The peace our rulers have agreed upon is under threat. What are your orders, Prince? It was perfectly clear to all that the SI had no chance of winning the battle. They're out in the open. One winged monster could end them all. The course is too narrow for a dragon. We will lower ourselves down on ropes and retrieve your niece's body. Lady Verja A. Emilia, will you accept or rate with this? The elf didn't answer immediately, but her voice sounded confident. Yes, your highness. Next, your ambassador and our consul will jointly question those who might have seen something. And one last thing. Everyone is expected to go to Roth. Lady Emilia, I hope you and the ladies in waiting have warm clothes. It's cold in the sky. Excuse me, your highness. What made you think that we would agree to this? I'm sorry, lord, but I'm not asking. We're in the Imperium. We're in the Empire, and things will be as I say. Are you taking us prisoner? I'm inviting you to visit, and no one refuses me. Lord Anilot, if everyone goes home now, the war will continue. You are traveling to Rhodes on a diplomatic mission, so continue it. Honestly, I have respect for him. I actually respect the prince. I really do. Because he's like, bitch, it's been war for so many years. If you actually leave, then that means that the war will continue. We all came here together. This marriage was supposed to happen so that the war stops. And now that she's dead, that means that there will be another reason for war to continue in the first place. And I'm not here for this. I came here so that we finally could unite and could finally live in peace, happily together. So I'm trying to find ways or a reason to why this happened. So you came here for a diplomatic reason, for both of our countries to unite, and so that we can finally live together in peace. So continue. When the princess was lifted from the bottom of the gorge, generally fainted from the side. Hair matted with dried blood, legs broken and twisted at unnatural angles, and dress torn by the stones. That though, like... Valora looked at her niece's body with an expressionless face. Tears ran down her cheeks. Then there were long and fruitless conversations, attempts to figure out what had happened. Before midnight, the princess told the guards to leave her alone. The soldiers were surprised, but of course they obeyed. Then dawn came, and they discovered that Fanel wasn't in her tent. No one had seen Simona go out to pick berries. She did not mention what she had overheard that night. First of all, who would believe her? Second, if she told the wrong person, she'd be the next one they'd pull out of the gorge. I mean, I have respect for her character here. I actually was complaining about that in Heaven's Secret Requiem, that our character doesn't know how to play her cards right. In here, this MC is is actually speaking my language. She's like, I need to keep this information for myself because this could be useful information and it could actually allow me to have the upper hand sooner or later on the person that actually did wrong. But if I should actually now try to immediately tell what I know, first, it would make me a suspect in the eyes of other people. Second, it would actually make it look like I want the war to continue. And since the king already knew that we wanted to help aid in the war that was going on, and then all of a sudden it wasn't worthy for us to go there in the first place anymore, like to the borders, because war was over and we were upset, like the king knows about this, then he would be saying that we're over exaggerating. And on the other side, if we actually are in front of the murderer, if we tell that we have overheard what has happened, we're gonna be the next one on the shit list. We're gonna be the next one to have to look out for our lives. So we're gonna keep it quiet. Besides, if the prince found out about Fanel's plans, the peace treaty would be in jeopardy. Simona returned to her tent and shook her head. Everything's fallen apart. How can we talk about peace now? It's war again, and we've been captured. The ambassador is right. She was jolted from her reverie by Tennerly, who was stomping around the tent in confusion. What happens now? I have no idea. It's one of them, and now they're going to kill us all. Lady Simona, why didn't you cast a spell when the battle began? Lady Tennerly, I saved you. I considered it suicide. I saved you. A choice had to be made, retreat with you or fight. Do you think I did the wrong thing? Tennerly clasped her hands together. No, sorry, I didn't thank you. I mean, indeed. Simona interrupted her. No matter, I have never seen elves die before. She honestly admitted, I guess I was afraid too, and now I'm still scared, but I don't know what's scarier. What does that mean? The sorceress looked around the camp. The Asai, Lord Anilo, Lady Velora, the servants, the warriors, the Imperials, the prince, the flying riders, the consul, the elves who performed the ceremony, and more warriors. Nothing. It's nothing, Lady Tennerly. Sorry, I'm so upset that I don't know what I'm saying. Right. Keep more things to yourself in order to have the upper hand. We were told to get rest. I always think it's very funny that they're trying. Oh my gosh, like they all look awful. No. Not on my watch. They look awful, y'all. I feel, God. Simona flew with her eyes closed. Special straps held her in the saddle behind the rider. Occasionally, she dared to open her eyes. When she did, she saw other dragons flying nearby, to the left and a little to the right. The prince was riding one of them. The others carried the ambassador, the consul, Velora, and Tennerly. By the order of Tai A. Most of the retinue stayed behind to await the arrival of Rhodes' warriors. They would then proceed to the capital. Simona took no pleasure in being among the special guests, or perhaps prisoners. It would be better to ride with everyone on horseback, or in a cart, or even on foot through the whole empire. Anything would be better than this. After some time, Simona thought she was getting used to it. Was it her imagination, or had the dragon started to fly more slowly? She looked around. Ahead of her was a second dragon, barely visible in the gloom of the clouds. Another was to the right, and also far away. Or were those shadows in the clouds? Did the winged monsters get carried in different directions by the wind? Or is my rider lagging behind for some reason? When he swayed in the saddle, Simona became agitated again with renewed vigor. She reached a state of near panic, and then the dragon began to descend rapidly. I have the feeling that he has feelings. Feelings, of course, like the dragon has feelings. I have the feeling that the dragons are capable to smell. Like they are empathetic. They can actually feel when you're not feeling safe around them. And that's why they're trying to adapt their speed or everything, like they're trying to adapt to the rider on their backs so that they're not scared. The dragon landed in a small valley and lowered its neck. The flying rider wheezed. Get off. Oh, it's the cute rider. He grabbed the straps and dismounted on his own, almost falling out of the saddle. This is bad. This is all very bad. Not knowing how to do it right, Simona slid off the dragon and onto her rear. What's wrong with you? The elf sat down on a flat stone and rubbed his throat. I don't know. Maybe there is a bottle of black glass in the backs. Simona had no choice but to overcome the horror of being so close to the monster. She unbuckled the belt and looked inside the saddlebag. I hate that she continues calling it a monster. Don't eat me. Don't eat me. I'm not tasty. I can't. She immediately found what she was looking for, a small bottle, just enough for a couple of sips. Here. When they were deciding who would fly with whom, they never told her his name. The flying rider drank it and lay low. I'm sorry, but he is gorgeous, majestic. The dragon watched his rider and Simona with concern. With concern? What did I say? They're empathetic. They can feel the emotions of the riders. The elf contorted, turned on his side and coughed. Then he vomited green mucus. Oh, God. What? Water. Simona reached for the bags again. No, is your water poisoned? I don't know. Maybe. He couldn't finish and started coughing again. Simona took the leather flask. She poured the water on the ground and looked around. Are there any springs here? Streams? I don't know. This place. Don't you dare die on me. She ran toward the bushes. Her logic was simple. Maybe they grew there because there was water. Oh my God. Not this man actually dying on us. Oh. She was lucky. There was indeed a thin stream running over the stones. Simona filled the flask halfway, then shook it to rinse out any remaining poison. Then she filled it again, this time to the brim. Who poisoned him? Or maybe it's not poison? What then? The bush rustled from the side. Simona immediately turned around and dropped the flask. With no time to get up, she staggered back. A cunning wild creature rushed toward her as if flowing over the stones. Simona had seen the species in engravings and read about it in books. A scree. Damn, what the heck is that? It kind of reminds me on a scorpion, sort of. Scorpion and those small creatures that appear when it's humid. Scientists who study such creatures would classify this as a medium-sized. They would probably say that Simona was too large to be its prey, but apparently there wasn't as much food in the mountains as there was on the researchers' tables, so the creature had no choice. It rushed to attack, snapping its mandibles like scissors. Please don't tell me that we're gonna be stuck here and the rider is gonna die. He's such a cutie pie. There was nowhere to run or hide. The sorceress crawled away. She held out her hand and folded her fingers in a sign. Apply transmutation magic? One magical arrow flew past it and landed in the stream. But the second one hit it in the head. The strong chitin above its eye survived, but the creature clearly didn't like it. It curled up into a ring, convulsing and squealed hideously. Before the scry could launch another attack, Simona jumped to her feet. She wanted to repeat the spell, but the creature was already too close. There was no time to think. Simona, desperate to fight back, simply kicked the screen in the mandibles with all her might. It flew back into the bushes from which it had crawled. Apparently realizing that the battle was not going in its favor, it decided to retreat. Bye, bitch. A moment later, the wriggling Chino's body disappeared behind the stones. Phew, how was I supposed to survive in war? This isn't the time to berate myself. I need to act. After all, I fought back and managed. I just wish my teeth weren't chattering. She paused for a moment to make sure the oversized centipede had moved on to easier prey. Then she picked up the flask, stumbled, and nearly fell. She rushed back to the rider. In any other situation, Simona would not care about the life of an Imperial. She would let him die. Damn! How many of them already rotted in these mountains, pierced by arrows and hacked to death by glorious Assai swords? One more, one less. Who should she pity? Yesterday's enemy? But then how would she get out of here alone? There could be screes that were much larger and therefore much more dangerous. Besides, they were far from the only creatures who would gladly diversify their boring diet of birds and mountain goats with a young, juicy elf. The dragon understood or sensed that the rider was in trouble. He bared his teeth and didn't take his eyes off Simona. Trying not to pay attention to him, Simona leaned over the elf. Are you alive? Hey! He opened his eyes and wheezed.
This is bad. Help me take off my jacket.
I'm sorry, but how could fresh water help when he has been poisoned? It seemed pointless to ask why. He could barely speak. Simona untied the lacing and undid the small hook and loop clasps. The rider's clothing hugged his body tightly and was supposed to protect him from the wind at high altitude. She had to tinker with it for a while. Freed from his jacket, the elf stood and removed his undershirt. What do we do? The rider didn't answer. He glanced at the dragon and grabbed Simona by the neck. He took Simona by surprise and knocked her down. He collapsed on top of her and squeezed his fingers more tightly. Simona winced. It just like the Sky had done not long ago. She kicked and tried to push the rider away. Even though he was poisoned, he was much stronger. Why the fuck are you trying to actually... why are you trying to kill me? Like, I'm here trying to help you out. I'm getting you fresh water and everything. Not you actually believing that I tried to poison you so that I would get stuck in the mountains here with you. She reached for a stone and threw it at the elf. It didn't hit his head, only his shoulder. He growled and clenched his fingers tighter. Cloudy circles swam before her eyes. She hit him a few more times, or maybe she just tried. The pain in her throat was blinding and the back of her head ached. Simona weakened quickly, barely able to resist. A pulsating black and red veil covered the elf's features. As he leaned over Simona, she saw that his face was distorted with rage. Y'all, of course, it's always us. It's always us that gets a kick in the ass. I fucking hate this. Like, you're trying to be kind, you're trying to save someone's life, and this is what you get. This is what you get. I can't. But, well, it happened. What can we do? I'm intrigued to know what next episode will be like. Like, I don't know if I like the story just yet. I think it has potential. Because, again, fantasy. But as of right now, I would give it like a 5. But I feel like it was like a nice way to introduce like enemies to lovers sort of vibe. Like 2 completely different worlds. They're now clashing together. We're like trying to find ways to get along with each other. But we don't know anything about each other. So this will be like not only getting along with like the personality of someone, but also like the world / the way that they grew up, like how the site looked like from their point of view. And I think it would be interesting. I hope you enjoyed this video with me. Tell me in the comments below what you think was best, and I will see you in another video. Bye.